As Spider-Noir is fighting his supervillains in 1932, a Marxist philosopher is imprisoned in Italy. From his cell, he writes, "The old world is dying, and the new world struggles to be born. Now is the time of monsters." Alright, I watched Spider-Noir, and though it may look like I really enjoyed it, I found it alright. I binge-watched it, I watched everything back to back, and what struck me about it wasn't its pretty generic storyline, but the very world that storyline was presented in. Therefore, there won't be major spoilers in this analysis. Spider-Noir dives into the 1930s, and what that provides, beyond a nostalgic effect, is a pretty unique and original way to tackle today's most pressing issues: how struggling masculinity and hyper-individualism emerge from the failures of capitalism. How does our media, in this case Spider-Noir, address these issues, and what solutions does it provide? So in case you're a freak and you're watching this without having seen the show, Spider-Noir is a Spider-Man show set in New York during the Great Depression. Ben Reilly, played by Nicolas Cage, is a private detective who, during World War I, gained spider powers. In the New York he works in, politicians, cops, the media are corrupt. Gangsters run the city, kids pickpocket you, and women are deceptive and unfaithful. What? It's the 1930s, of course it's going to be misogynistic. We'll get back to that. Liberal institutions, from fair elections to honest media, are failing. Capitalism is creating sharper and sharper wealth disparities and poverty. Men are traumatized from World War I and came back from Europe to women who are making their first steps towards their emancipation by exercising, for the first time, their right to vote. Those women were fighting for their rights while men were busy fighting for their lives. Now, it would be hard not to see some parallels with the issues and anxieties we experience today, and I want to go through these parallels in this video. Except men being traumatized by a brutal war, we don't have that, but they're traumatized in other ways, okay? Did you know men kill themselves? By the way, women make more suicide attempts than men, but men are just better at doing it. Checkmate, women. Spider-Noir is played by a 62-year-old Nicolas Cage. If the Spider-Man I've grown up with was a bubbly teenage high schooler, Spider-Noir is an old, traumatized war veteran. If generic Spider-Man swings in broad daylight and is quite optimistic, cheerful, and perhaps charmingly naive, Spider-Noir seems to only come out at night, is gritty, edgy, and cynical. The friendly neighborhood Spider-Man isn't so friendly anymore. He's mature and serious. He's not a boy, he's a man. I think there are some obvious points to make about superheroes presenting an idealized form of old-school emotionless masculinity and how aging superheroes have been presented in past cultural productions. But Spider-Noir's exploration of masculinity stands out because it's done by aestheticizing male suffering. Spider-Noir's, or Ben Reilly's, masculinity emerges from his trauma, from the pain he's been through. He is particularly masculine, yes because he's old, yes because he has a deep voice, but also because he has endured hardships from the war and from having lost his fiancée. He's a broken man, and, in a way, more of a man because he's broken. The drinking, the smoking, the loneliness, the emotional detachment, the lack of smiling, these are aesthetics that not only define masculinity, but that define masculinity through the prism of struggle. The show screams, a real man is one who has suffered, who has sacrificed everything. Struggle, or Germans would call it their Kampf, seems to be at the core of Ben's identity and masculinity. And a lot of this struggle is related to women. Call me woke or whatever, but aside from his secretary, women seem to be a real problem for Spider-Noir. After the first episode's introduction, the first person we see Ben talk to is a woman. She's a flirtatious woman who openly and unashamedly cheats on her husband. He then falls in love with Kat, who stabs him in the back and through his heart by going back to the man she truly loves. Not only does she ghost him after making plans to start a new life with him, she snitches on him and reveals his spider identity to the evil scientist, also a woman, who, because she's an overprotective, nurturing mother, tries to kill him. Those are basically the only women in this series who have somewhat of a role to play in the development of the story. Again, aside from his secretary, who he doesn't pay by the way, the women around him have been antagonistic to him. Oh, I almost forgot. There's Vera Addison, who is shown not only to be profiting off her husband's death and eating lobster mid-Great Depression, but who also openly threatens a black man in the 1930s as a white woman with a racialized accusation.
No, now I just want to talk.
You have 3 seconds to get out of here or I'm going to scream. And I don't think you want a white woman screaming about a black man trying to force his way into her hotel room.
How could I forget about the greedy racist woman? The noir genre depicts a man's world, and I think the makers of Spider-Noir gave themselves the permission to reproduce this man's world, perhaps for the sake of historical accuracy. For example, when Spider-Noir introduced Robbie Robertson, a black journalist, I was worried they would erase historical racism in 1930s New York. Yet, as shown with the greedy racist white lady, they didn't. That's good, you wouldn't want to whitewash American history. However, with misogyny, what's kept isn't only the unfair treatment of women, but also their unfair representation as manipulative, disloyal, and greedy witches. Spider-Noir overtly pays homage to the film noir genre of the 40s and 50s. Often, these movies, with their characteristic visual style, were mystery/crime stories where a detective or a journalist would fight organized crime in an urban setting where corruption is rampant. Politicians and cops are crooked, wealth inequality is rising, people are struggling. It's a dog-eat-dog kind of world where everyone tries to survive the best they can. This world came straight out of the 30s, where the Great Depression turned the American dream into an illusion by forcing millions of Americans into poverty and unemployment. Capitalism struggled to justify itself, liberal institutions had failed the people, and alienation was endemic. The Great Depression's climate of hopelessness, cynicism, and selfishness driven by economic struggle gave a great setting to explore various themes, one of which being the moral ambiguity of human nature. What's better than a good dog-eat-dog world to explore the human psyche? In recent years, when cultural productions wanted to explore human nature, explore who we truly are, they'd imagine a world where the state, and especially the police, collapsed, mostly because of a zombie apocalypse. Post-apocalyptic movies, shows, and video games have done this a lot. In a world where zombies have taken over, humans are the real monsters. Whoa, that's so deep. If there wasn't the police and politicians to rule over us, we'd all be at each other's throats. These cultural productions seem to agree with Hobbes, who wrote in his 1651 book Leviathan, a defense for a strong monarchy which would prevent our human nature to create a world where there is no arts, no letters, no society, and which is, worst of all, continual fear and danger of violent death, and the life of man solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. This is the defense of liberal institutions, of the police, and of politicians that are put forward by this type of media. They have a pretty positive and optimistic outlook on liberal capitalism. That's for zombie productions, but what the film noir setting does allow, however, is to look into selfish human nature, not in a stateless world, but in a world where the state has been captured by wealth. I feel like that's a world that hits closer to home, doesn't it? What it posits, then, is that our selfishness is perhaps less linked to our nature as related to the absence of the state, but rather linked to our material conditions in a world where issues are systemic. While evil is often framed as a character flaw in Marvel movies, an anomaly, setting Spider-Noir in the Great Depression ties evil to the systemic material conditions of the period. The evil is not individual, it's systemic. Spider-Noir says that if Silvermane, the antagonist of the series, was defeated, another Silvermane would reappear. The issue isn't the people in positions of power. It isn't the mayor, the police, or the gangster, but the whole system itself. The issue is power, its hierarchy. It would be hard not to make parallels between Spider-Noir and Batman. Gotham, the world Batman is set in, is also extremely corrupt, and evil is tied not only to the material conditions of the antagonists, but also often to their mental states, which are tied to those material conditions. Batman is also a misogynist and doesn't want to pay Batgirl.
Quick, Batgirl, untie us before it's too late.
It's already too late. I've worked for you a long time and I'm paid less than Robin. Same job, same employer means equal pay for men and women.
No time for jokes, Batgirl.
He also greatly embodies the aestheticization of male trauma, as his very character is tied to a trauma related to bats. Oh, and his parents died. I don't know if you heard about that. He's an orphan. He's a traumatized orphan. A billionaire, but still a traumatized billionaire orphan. However, Spider-Noir has a distinguishing feature which frames his superpowers, his attitudes, and his actions in a way that is more relevant for a social analysis. Spider-Noir is working class. Of course, Bruce Wayne, Batman, isn't going to want to change the system that creates the monsters he's fighting. Fighting capitalism and the wealth inequalities it produces would mean he'd be fighting against his own class interest. It wouldn't be that crazy to imagine Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk becoming Batman or Iron Man, because trying to fix the system without changing it is what Batman and Iron Man do. They fight the consequences of the system, but not the system itself. But what about Spider-Noir? Spider-Man has always been a working class hero. He's your friendly neighbor, and when he's not helping out average people in the street, he's delivering pizza.
Pizza time.
Ben Reilly is also working class. Well, he does have an employee technically, which would make him a boss, but he's still an impoverished war veteran. He befriends street urchins and gets drunk and fights with other working class men. Unlike Bruce Wayne or Tony Stark, he can't use power, money, or fame to his advantage, so he has to rely on wit, cunning, and cleverness. Unlike Bruce and Tony, Ben is not benefiting from the system at all. Most superhero cultural products are liberal fantasies. They're optimistic, they're hopeful. If there's evil in the world, we can defeat it. They say, we can go back to normal without having to address material conditions. We can go back to normal without having to dismantle the system. Superheroes usually somewhat benefit from the liberal capitalist system they live in, either because it provides them wealth as it does with Batman, or at the very least, because superheroes are optimistic and believe the system works. They believe in the order and stability the system provides. They believe in liberal institutions which, if they do fail, can at the very least be reformed. Spider-Noir doesn't indulge in this liberal fantasy. It doesn't defend the liberal optimism of its superhero genre. It's quite cynical and fatalistic. Faith in liberal institutions and in capitalism is abandoned. There's no hope. I think that this, in many ways, addresses modern concerns. So how does Spider-Noir address these concerns? Even though Spider-Noir, presented by Amazon, is critical of liberalism, my reading of it is that it leans more towards an individualist far right of everyone for oneself, survival of the fittest outlook than an anti-capitalist one. Even though it proposes a good diagnosis of the problems of liberal capitalism, its remedy is terrible. The same day I watched all 8 episodes of Spider-Noir, I also watched the video by my favorite video essayist, Alexander Avila, on looksmaxing and the streamer Clavicular. Yeah, I know, I stayed in bed all day. It's technically my job, okay? I was technically working. Anyway, Alexander dives into the hyper-individualistic and nihilistic black pill culture.
The black pill is one expression of the current system's failure to provide an outlet for political struggle or even any political meaning. For years, we've been denied a language that could adequately describe the wound left by structural failure. The black pill is an identification with this wound, and really one I truly understand. For it is far easier to become a symptom of a world without a future than it is to live in one.
Jesus Christ, he's good. Anyway, it was impossible for me to separate these two pieces of media. Spider-Noir is Spider-Man on the black pill. In French, the black pill is pilule noire, so I'll call it noir pill. I'm not saying that Spider-Noir has taken the noir pill solely because of his problematic relation with women or because he's cynical or nihilistic, but because he embodies what Alexandra Avila said. It's far easier to become a symptom of a world without a future than it is to live in one. Spider-Noir doesn't only live in the noir world, he is a symptom of it down to his attitude and outlook on life. If the noir world failed to give an outlet for political struggle, to use Alexander's words, Spider-Noir engages with the world, if not through looks-maxing, through hyper-individualism. The superhero trope is shaped by individualism. It's the individual superhero that acts, that saves the day, that is the prime socio-political agent. The superhero framework limits our political imagination, denies us the language that could adequately identify the wounds left by structural failure. We feel powerless, we feel like things can't change, and what superhero fantasies provide is not empowerment through community and collective action, but empowerment through supernatural powers. Every character in Spider-Noir who has superpowers is a struggling working-class war veteran. It's not a political movement or a union or radical mobilizing that empowers them through collective action, but superpowers that empower them individually. If looks-maxing, or maximizing your looks, is supposed to empower young men through mogging or socially dominating other men, hero-maxing empowers young men by giving them the fantasy of superpowers, powers which are often granted through pain. Powerless subjects are sold power not as something to be attained collectively, but as something to conquer individually. Capitalism, both during the Great Depression and today, hasn't failed. The wealth inequality, the weakening of liberal institutions, our social and economic anxieties, our alienation, our loss of hope for the world and its future aren't products of a failure in capitalism. They're products of a disillusionment. Liberal capitalism hasn't failed in its function. Its function was always to generate profits and power for the wealthy. Where liberal capitalism is failing is in its ability to make us believe that it's a system that works for all. What's failing isn't capitalism itself, but its ideological system of justification and illusions. However, by losing its ability to justify itself, capitalism may foster enough resistance to be overcome. At the same time as Spider-Noir is fighting his supervillains, our Marxist philosopher is imprisoned in Italy. From his cell, he writes, "The old world is dying and the new world struggles to be born. Now is the time of monsters." I believe we need works of art that portrays and facilitates the birth of a new world. Spider-Noir doesn't do that. It doesn't want to do that. I doubt Amazon would want to do that either. And I don't think Spider-Noir is a reactionary piece of media for it. I think it's a piece of media that reflects the times we're in, where the world is dying and the new world seems to really struggle to be born. Spider-Noir is a reflection of the time of monsters. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for... Oh, wait, actually, let me show you. I am Spider-Noir. It's me. It was me the whole time. Sean Grenier the Canvas. Subscribe, like, comment, check out my Patreon. I hope you enjoyed the video. Before going into like the Patreon stuff and all that, the video I posted 2 weeks ago now has been taken down by YouTube. I got a week ban because of it. I'm talking with YouTube right now to restore it. It was a 3-hour video on Antifa. I was talking about its tactics. I was talking about my own personal experience doing Antifa action. I was talking about Antifa philosophy, violence, like political violence, liberalism, and stuff like that. If you're interested in watching that 3-hour video, it's on Patreon and it's available for free. So you don't have to become a patron to go watch it, though it's greatly appreciated if you do become a patron, because apparently my videos are being taken down. Not just demonetized, not just age restricted, but taken down and getting me bans on YouTube. For this time it was like a 1-week ban, which is not too bad, but I think the next one would be like a channel termination, which that would be really, really terrible. So go check out my Patreon to see the video. And if you want to help me out, it's greatly appreciated if you do. you can become a patron, be part of the people scrolling here, the people here, unless they're scrolling here, I'm not too sure. There's Roman Brandel, X-Towns, Bone Meal, and Chrissy Chris, who are top tier patrons, who I shout out at the end of each video. If you want to become one of them or one of the people I shout out, again, check out on Patreon. If you want to be on the scrolling, check out Patreon. It is greatly appreciated. I cannot tell you how much it is appreciated in times when YouTube takes down my videos. I hope you enjoyed this video. Very quick on reacting to a new show coming out. I always loved Spider-Man when I was really, really little, so I'm very happy to be making a video on this one where Spider-Man is more mature and has maybe more of a socio-political bend to it. At least that's how I perceived it, as you've seen in the video I've just shared. So yeah, so I'm very happy I made this video. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments. Again, like, subscribe, and things like that. Share with your friends who have watched Spider-Noir and who like Marvel and stuff like that. Maybe this video could interest them. Maybe it's a way to radicalize them, or your family, right? Get them to, oh yeah, maybe capitalism doesn't work. And maybe it's not the first time that capitalism doesn't work for people. It works perfectly well. It just doesn't work for everyone, as it kind of tries to tell us it does. Anyway, I'm rambling. You've already watched the video. Why am I repeating everything? Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Maybe the Antifa video, if I can put it back on YouTube. If I can't, go check out on Patreon. In both cases, thank you for watching this video and the one that's on Antifa. And the upcoming ones, it's going to be a lot of fun. I have so many ideas in mind. I just got to be a bit more careful about what I want to talk about on YouTube, apparently. Jesus Christ. Thank you. All right, goodbye.